Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cold Country Podcast, where we talk everything WVU sports. As always, I'm your host, Ian McIntyre, and joining me, Tyler Cobb, Matt Howe, and Max Jit Remy behind the camera. Gentlemen, how are we?
I'm very happy to be here. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm guessing we all had a good break. We're going to get into that a little bit. How was your break, Kizzy?
Very festive. Christmas, obviously, but we've had some snow here recently. It's been cold, very cold.
It's been a long time since I've been able to go out and build a big snowman. You know?
I feel like it has been a long time since it snowed. But it's cold enough to where the river has some ice spots freezing over, so that should tell you the story. I'm happy to be back, though. Happy to be in my spot. Happy to be in front of the mic again, and I guess I'm behind the mic, but happy to be recording again.
Absolutely. Happy to get together with all you boys again and record another episode. It's been over a month since we've done the last one, I'm pretty sure.
Has indeed.
Very eventful. I had a good Christmas. I hope all you boys had a good Christmas too. It sounds like you did. So, Happy New Year 2025. It is the year of the Cold Country Podcast, boys. It is upon us.
We're going to grow. That's the New Year's resolution for the Cold Country Pod. Just grow.
Absolutely. And you guys were talking about the snow last week or the week before. I think it was last week. We're currently recording on Thursday the 16th. So it snowed a little bit today. I think we got 2 inches of snow just today. But last week we got 11 inches, maybe over a foot in some places.
Yeah,
so,
we had 13 down where I was.
Yeah, so that's a crazy amount, especially the past 3 years. We haven't gotten barely any snow at all. So
How do you like the snow, Jit? Are you a snow fan?
I enjoy it, but also I don't. When I flew back in from Fort Lauderdale, I went to my car and it was almost covered in a lot of snow, a lot. So I had to wipe it off, and then I forgot how to do 4-wheel drive, so I had to put that back in.
I forget that you're a warm weather guy because you do live in Florida. So
yeah, back home it's a nice 70 and stuff. It did get hot, but I enjoyed it. And then all my friends down there were like, "Oh, what weather are you going back to?" I'm like, 10. I don't know,
10 degrees.
And they're all like, "Oh, sorry." And I'm like, I'm used to it by now, whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say, how is the dynamic with you and snow? Because obviously you're up here enough to be used to it. Have you practiced driving in it before now?
Yeah. Before I started at WVU, I did take some time with my dad. We flew up here and we drove in a Tahoe and kind of got acquainted with 4-wheel drive, driving in the snow, trying to get used to all that. My dad's friend actually helped me out a lot with figuring out the do's and don'ts of driving when there is snow, on the highway, what to avoid, what not to do. And it was strange because it's a learning curve, because you guys have experienced it your whole life, and I only started experiencing it a year ago. So.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you already got a leg up on them freaking Florida drivers, dude. Those guys are crazy.
Nah, honestly, I'm gonna be so real. The drivers here for the past couple of weeks have been worse than the drivers back home.
It's probably all the ice on the.
I think it might be because it's a college town. Obviously, you're coming back in from a different climate. I wonder. I mean, I guess we could probably look up the demographics that make up the school, but there's a lot of people here that just. It's you get a very slight layer of powder coat, and everyone just freaks out. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
See, and we're going to talk about the playoff later. Like we said, we've been gone for a while. A lot has happened. But this is one thing that I love about the new playoff, despite me not liking the format, is home playoff games. I think it was the Indiana-Purdue game where there was snow in Notre Dame Stadium all morning, and they got it cleared out. Unfortunately, they didn't play in snow. But imagine, Georgia having to go up to Notre Dame to play in the cold weather.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. It's was it last year in the NFL playoffs that the Dolphins had to go play the Chiefs?
Yeah, that was a crazy game.
And it was 15 degrees outside.
Yeah, the icicles coming off of Andy Reid's mustache.
Oh, yeah, dude. Being from Miami and practicing in Miami every week, I couldn't.
It was very different, because I have like the opposite of the spectrum from you guys. Like I'll be in like 100-degree weather, and you guys would die.
Yeah.
No, I remember
85 max.
we were all together doing a group activity outside, and it was like 90 degrees, and everyone there was dying and complaining, and I'm like, I'm good, do it. And
Well, it's just weird because normally West Virginia is one of those in-between states where we have Alaskan winters, but we can have Florida summers at the same time. And a lot of it comes down to the humidity because Florida is so humid.
I was gonna say humidity does play a huge factor.
Yeah.
it really does. I just like the sort of climate down there a lot, but I also like it up here. It's just each of them has their features and perks that I like, you know. But I don't miss hurricanes. I do not miss them. I just like that's the one of the worst parts. Like it's the trade-off.
Hurricanes or blizzards.
To me, that is like a top 5 quality of West Virginia. And it's the fact that we are shielded from basically all inclement weather.
Yeah, no hurricanes, no tornadoes.
If
It's
there is
like-
a tornado, it's very small and causes minimal damage.
Yeah.
We get one every few years. It barely knocks anything down.
I think there was one this year.
I think
out near like Martinsburg, I think.
It could have been.
it was. I remember our good old buddy Evan freaking out about it. I think it was near his house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was towards the beginning of the fall semester.
All right. Speaking of games, let's jump right into it. So we're going to talk about all of the staff hires that we've missed since we've been away and talk a little bit about the transfer portal. So, Tyler, you got all the information pulled up. Just start us off somewhere.
A lot has happened. I'm not going to sit here and go through every single staff hire. That's a lot of coaches. Just the ones that stand out, the ones that we kept, and one that I think we should have kept but ended up not. And then some just like, moving parts. First and foremost, Rich Rod decided to keep both Blaine Stewart and Chad Scott on staff. Now, the one I'm was most excited for was Chad Scott. I liked what Chad Scott did for the running back room, and I liked what I saw out of Chad Scott in the bowl game, despite the loss. So I like bringing Chad Scott back, and I don't know if you've seen it, but there was a video out there of Jaheim White and Instagram Live, and one of the questions was, if Chad Scott had left, were you going to hit the portal? And he was like, just shaking his head. Yeah, so no surprise there. Jaheim White probably would have left, along with a bunch of other transfers. Then the other guy was Blaine Stewart as the strength and training coach. I like that one too. Not too much to say about it, but I don't mind keeping him.
Those weren't our problem areas last year, so.
Yeah, strength and conditioning and running backs was not the issue. One issue I have been slightly worried about was O-line. We're losing a bunch to the graduation, and then a bunch more have transferred out. Part of that is because Rich decided not to keep around Matt Moore. This is the one decision that Rich has made up to this point that I think I disagree. No, I don't. I mean, I don't think I disagree with. I do disagree with it. Matt Moore put Zach Frazier, Doug Nestor, and Wyatt Milam in the NFL. Tomas Remack, I think, had the potential to go next year to the NFL. Matt Moore was building a culture in that offensive line group that I thought should have,
And shout out to Wyatt Milam for.
Yeah, did I say Wyatt? I don't remember.
I don't
when
know.
I was talking about NFL.
But either
guys.
way, congrats to him. He's going to be a high NFL pick.
Yeah,
so.
he will be a high NFL pick. So I wish we would have kept Matt Moore. That's the only, flip over from Neil's staff to Rich's staff that I wasn't too thrilled about.
Yeah.
Two that we did hire. Like I said, I'm not going to go through a bunch of all the coaches because there's a lot there.
Got to go for the big hire.
Number one, Jeff Castile. He was on Rich's staff as a defense coordinator when Rich was here the first time. And he is now, oh my goodness, I can't remember what he is now. He's the Bandits coach. So he's no longer the defensive coordinator because defensive coordinator is Zach Alley from
Absolutely.
Oklahoma. I'm going to let you guys take this one over. I just want to say that this one is probably, I mean, I just want to hear you guys' thoughts, but this is probably the biggest hire. The fact that we were able to take a coach from an SEC school, Oklahoma in particular, who is known for their good defenses, is huge. So, I mean, again, we don't have to deep dive into what he was able to accomplish. We all know he's a good coach. Just your guys' thoughts on the hire and how you think that dynamic of Zach Alley and Jeff Castile will work out, because obviously Jeff Castile probably wants to be the defensive coordinator, but is now just an assistant coach under Zach Alley.
I think that dynamic is not going to be an issue, at least for the first few years, just because they're both going to be settling into their new role. And I don't see why they wouldn't help each other out, but at the same time, they're going to be in their own territory for a while, just still getting used to everything. Best part about Zach Alley hire to me was definitely the crying Oklahoma fans all over social media, dude.
Definitely.
It made me a little upset when we turned around and did the same thing when Hudson Clement left. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Amazing hire, though. Whenever it first happened, I was misinformed. I didn't know much about Zach Alley or Oklahoma in general, just because I wanted to disassociate myself with them after they acted like they were so much better than the Big 12 and then went to the SEC and got blown up. But I think the defense was the best part about that Oklahoma team that lost to Navy in a bowl game.
Tragic. That's bowl season for you.
Man, you play Navy, you know they're going to run the ball, and they ran it for 300 yards on Oklahoma.
We can't talk much. We did lose to a Group of 5 school.
Oh, yeah, but at least they were ranked.
That's true.
I mean, good Lord. But not to read too much into our bowl game anyway. Like, we lost, controversial at the end, but so be it.
Right call, bad situation.
Yeah. But Zach Alley, home run hire, absolutely. Matt, what do you think?
I've never been an expert on like the coaching situations. He's worked under Rich Rod before at Jacksonville State, so
Was he was the defense coordinator there, right?
He was.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
He brought him over, and in one season with the Sooners, he turned them from 99th in total team defense last year to this year they were in the top 20 for total defense. So I'm excited. I think
And that's
defensively
going-
is where we struggled a lot last year. So
That's going against SEC offenses too. Like, imagine
Whatever
what he
that
can-
means.
Imagine what he can do against Big 12 offenses. I'm excited to see what he's gonna do.
I think
Yeah.
we should all be excited.
Yeah. I mean, don't want to overinflate our expectations going into year one.
I don't think we are.
Yeah.
I think we're in the right place as a fan base right now, where we came off of a 6-7 season, which honestly, the way the season started out, I'm surprised we made a bowl game.
Yeah, for real.
So we should be happy about that, and we should look forward to another similar season or even better season.
My only thing is I don't want like fans to see what Darren DeVries has done with the basketball team and then compare what
Right.
Rich did the first time around here and be like, oh, we're going Big 12 championship year one. I don't think that's the case, and I think that's apparent in the transfer portal class that we're bringing in. A lot
Ren
of JUCO
Baker.
and G5 guys and FCS.
Ren Baker is a fantastic AD. Those were both home run hires, but it involved luck.
And maybe a little bit.
And involved a little bit of luck, even though like DeVries and Kellogg are both insanely good coaches. But there's a lot of luck involved in that. It would be awesome if the Rich Rod situation worked out the same way. We get 9-3, but I doubt that's going to happen. But I think the fan base is doing a relatively good job of keeping their scope realistic.
So this is the last thing I want to say about the staff, and then we can move on to the transfer portal class. The Zach Alley hire. One, I think Zach Alley took the job because next year for Brett Venables is not guaranteed. I think Brent Venables going into 2025 is on the hot seat, and if he ends up getting fired, that leaves Zach Alley without a job more than likely, even if the next coach at Oklahoma comes in and keeps Zach Alley. Second reason is I almost think that when Rich was during the interview process and going, hey, Zach Alley, I mean, obviously they have relations with each other. Rich is getting up there in age. Could it be a situation where Rich is going to have the program for 5 years, and when Rich retires, it's Zach Alley is up next? because I think Zach Alley has head coach potential. I mean, he is an incredible defense coordinator, and sooner or later he's going to hit that I'm a head coach type coach. Do you guys think that could be the plan here, long term?
It could be. I'd say it's too soon to say. And like you said, we don't know how long Rich Rod will be here. Is his contract for 5 years initially?
It's a 5-year contract.
I think it's 5-year contract.
And like when they did the press conference, he was saying he wants to be here as long as he can.
Yeah, he is going to retire here.
Yeah, he said finish his career here.
In 5 years, if they say thanks for the 5 years, well, have a good one, and maybe, but Ren, or if he's gone and someone else is in, whoever makes that decision at that point, who knows what'll happen.
I think it is a possibility, a greater than not possibility, that it could be a Zach Alley head coach conversation. Because I think we were looking for the same dynamic with Kotelnicki when he was still part of the coaching conversation. We wanted someone who was going to have to earn head coach ability and time, and it would have been Kotelnicki's first time as head coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we still want to keep that dynamic in the coaching staff now, even though we plan on having Rich Rod for a very long time, maybe past 5 years. But it's always nice to have that in your back pocket in case he decides to retire early, or if Zach Alley's willing to stay through Rich Rod's contract and become the head coach after that. It's worked out really well contractually.
I think it'd be an interesting sight because he's young, so he gives me Kenny Dillingham vibes at Arizona State, just like young, fiery head coach that just wants to make an impact right now. So pretty good staff, pretty good hires. Like I said, the only one that I have disagreed with is Matt Moore not being kept, but I don't get paid to do that job. So
you will.
One day.
You
No,
will.
I'll be paid to be college football commissioner. Sorry, Josh Pate, and sorry, Joel Klatt. It's going to be me.
You'll be the commissioner.
Transfer portal class. I was worried, boys. I was worried because a lot is leaving, and a lot is leaving to high-level schools.
Absolutely.
Top tier. Just to go over some of that made me a little nervous. Traylon Ray has committed to Ole Miss. C.J. Donaldson has committed to Ohio State, which that one doesn't make sense to me unless it's a money grab. I'm sorry, but I don't
think he's going to play there much.
Is Quinshon Judkins a senior? I don't know if Judkins is.
I think he's
NFL
a junior,
draft.
but yeah, he hasn't committed to the NFL draft yet, obviously. He still has a national championship to play for.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's going to come back anyway because I was expecting more out of Judkins going into the season because he was on everyone's top running back radar. And it was not necessarily underwhelming, but not as much as everyone expected. So I could see him coming back next year, and if he does, CJ's not going to.
I was going to say, because Travion Henderson is coming back, and so if it's Henderson and Judkins, I don't see CJ getting a lot of playing time.
Exactly.
If it's Henderson, Judkins goes to the NFL, maybe CJ gets a little bit of backup time, but it just seems like a money grab. The one that did seem like a money grab and that frustrated me the most was Huddy Tuddy. Hudson Clement committed to Illinois. Josiah Trotter and Johnny Williams both committing to Missouri. That one was those two were big hits. Johnny Williams expected starter next year. Josiah Trotter was the leader of the defense. Not that it was a great defense, but still. And then the three offensive linemen that transferred to Virginia Tech. Tomas Remack, Kyle Altuner, and Lucas Austin. Another reason I thought we should have kept Matt Moore. Those are three. Well, Tomas Remack and Kyle Altuner probably would have started next year. I don't know about Lucas Austin, but those are the outgoing transfers, some of them.
Those jersey edits of the O-line ticked me off, man.
Man.
Man, I saw those. There was no reason for that, man. There was no reason for that. But then again, why should I be butthurt? We stole Zach Alley from the SEC, so whatever.
Before we get to the good news of the incoming transfers, I do want to say that I think that this proves that it was a coaching issue and not a talent acquisition
Absolutely.
issue. There was talent on this team. Ole Miss doesn't go out and just get wide receivers. Ohio State doesn't go out and just get random running backs. CJ and Traylon Ray, they saw something in both of them, whether that's a backup role or not. They don't just go out and get nobodies, is what I'm saying. Same thing goes for Hudson Clement. Obviously, Illinois isn't as like a top tier school like Ole Miss and Ohio State is, but still finished fifth in the Big Ten this year, behind all 4 playoff teams in the Big Ten, and then Josiah Trotter going to Missouri. Like, that's an SEC school, and the same thing with Johnny Williams. There was talent on this team that was not coached well. Is what I'm getting behind.
They weren't being utilized at their full potential.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that the guys that did stay, mainly Nico, Rodney G, and Jaheim White, will be put to well use in the Rich Rod system.
For sure. I think they're going to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder now after the type of season that we just had, and a lot of the guys leaving with the new structure of NIL and college football in general, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later, about all that whole dynamic. I think they're going to be playing for something a little extra this year, especially for a coach who had a historic tenure for the school once already and wants to bring that same fire back. I feel like they're going to go to a different level.
Yeah. Now, there is still the spring portal, so more guys could still leave. However, Jaheim, Rodney, and Nico, the guys that we expect to stay, I think have already announced they're coming back. I guess they could change their mind, but let's hope that this remains the bulk of it.
And it seems like the guys who get why West Virginia is special will stay here almost no matter what.
I think that's what made Hudson Clement hurt so bad, though, is because, like, you're a hometown kid, Martinsburg High School. You had the entire fan base that, like, just absolutely adored you, and you were wide receiver 1 going into 25, maybe 2 now that we've brought in Cam Vaughn. But either way, and you left for Illinois.
Yeah, that just makes me question his character, because whenever I heard the news, I went back and watched like the walk-on story that he did last year, and through that whole thing, I barely heard him mention the fans at all, or talk about the fan football program relationship. And he still hasn't done that in any press conferences like this past season or in any interviews. I don't think he's mentioned much besides the good old, like, oh yeah, we need the fans to show up next week, bring the energy, we're going to win this game, which is kind of what every player does. But he seemed like one of those guys that to the fans was beloved, and I don't think he showed the same compassion.
There were a lot of fans calling for that video to be taken down, including, I don't remember who it was, but there was a former WVU walk-on that said take this down immediately.
I did see that. He was like, this is not the story of walking on at all.
Do you think it should have been taken down, Matt?
No, I don't think that's in keeping with, tradition. I think, they make a piece of media, put it out. I mean, that was a story at the time. I don't really see. I mean, I get the impact of it, but I don't really see a reason to go back and say, well, that never happened.
The main thing is I think it won an award, which is why I don't think they will take it down.
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's a good point,
I think it did.
It just doesn't hold the same sentimental value as it did. And that's not just because we lost Hudson. It's because the walk-on story itself seems to not matter as much anymore, like we were saying in this new era of NIL. So that's the main issue I have with it. And I'm sure a lot of the fans that remove Hudson from the emotional equation feel the same way.
It sucks, but when West Virginia is competing for a Big 12 championship and Illinois is at the bottom of the Big 10, it'll be okay. No offense, Illinois fans. I don't know how you're going to do. I don't pay attention to
You're a basketball school, guys.
I do. They had a good year this year, but I think it was a one and going to fall a little bit next year.
Their big moment was beating Ohio State in 2007. That was their big deal.
I don't think they'll be quite as good this year. However, had they beaten Minnesota, they would have been in pretty decent shape. Let's get on to some good news.
Yeah.
Incoming transfers. Again, there's a lot. I'm not going to go over all of them because we've been gone for 4 months, and that would take us forever.
4 months.
Did I say 4 months? I meant 4 weeks.
Sure did.
I meant 4 weeks. We've been gone 4 weeks.
Sorry, guys. A quarter of the year gone.
Yeah, a quarter of the year.
A third of the year.
Big guys up front. Rich Rod building the wall. Tykees Crawford from Arkansas flipped from UCLA to West Virginia. He's a big pickup for the O-line, along with West Virginia native Robbie Martin. And then I think I have, Oh gosh, I don't want to get butchered.
Read it.
I don't want to get
Read
butchered
it.
for mispronouncing this name. Chemo Macanole. Again, that could be totally butchered. I apologize if it is.
Is it as bad as me earlier in this season saying Thomas Rymack?
Yeah, that might. I don't know. I could have totally butchered it, but a O line converted to D line and will likely convert back to O line from LSU. Those three guys are going to solidify the wall next year, along with some of the guys we have coming back. Those are three big pickups because we were short-handed at offensive line
Yeah,
after losing in graduation.
Virginia Polytechnic University.
Yeah, Virginia Tech taking all our
They
guys.
stole our line. Whatever. Yeah, fantastic pickups. That's basically all I got
Especially,
to say about
I
it.
think Tykees Crawford is going to make the biggest difference. I think he's going to be a beast up front. So hopefully, with the line will stay strong, keep the momentum from the Matt Moore era, and just keep it going.
I expect it.
More guys. We've got the C.J. Donaldson replacement, and I don't like to say that because I don't want to give somebody the expectations and then them not meet it or them totally blow them out of the water. But Ty Edwards from Northern Illinois, obviously an FCS pickup. He is like 6'4" and 240 or something. That could be an exaggeration. 6'4", 230. So I was pretty close. That's a big guy. And he's toting the rock behind Jaheim White, or along with Jaheim White behind a big offensive line that we're trying to build. I think he's going to be one of the bigger pickups. Any thoughts on Ty Edwards?
Girth.
Girth, a big guy.
He is a big guy.
How many? He had a good 2024 season with Northern Illinois.
Beating Notre Dame.
Had a 1,000-yard rushing season. So
I'm seeing Northern Iowa.
am I saying Northern Illinois? It's been a while. Okay.
I'm seeing Northern Iowa.
Well, you were saying Northern Illinois.
I
I
think
thought
I
he
was
was
saying
from
that.
Northern Illinois,
No,
so I
it's-
said beat Notre Dame.
You gotta
No,
get
no.
fact checked.
It's Northern
checked.
Iowa. I'm sorry. It's Northern Iowa. My
The
fault.
Panthers.
My fault.
The Panthers.
Regardless, had a good year.
The Georgia State Panthers. What? The Pittsburgh Panthers.
We don't like those guys, okay? Yeah, you guys lost to Toledo. Clown on us all you want.
man.
7-0 to 0-6 with a loss to Toledo.
Dude, that's worse than the ending of the Steelers season. I'm a Steelers fan.
Ouch.
and I'm a Steelers fan.
So they lost twice.
That's bad, man. Steeler pride.
Get out of here.
Here we go. All right.
Trying to rebuild the secondary that was atrocious last year. I can't see any way it could be any different or any worse. Any worse. And Zach Alley and Rich Rod are doing a good job because not only have they picked up, I believe at the time, the highest ranked cornerback in the transfer portal in Michael Coach Jr. from Nevada.
Big.
Going to be a stud next year. But they've also had several other guys, Derek Carter and Fred Perry coming over from Jacksonville State. So following old Rich Rod over, and then Justin Harrington from Washington. Sad part is a lot of these guys are seniors, so even if they perform well, we're only getting 1 year. But I digress.
Just building the foundation.
Yeah, got to start somewhere. So I think the secondary is going to be worlds better than what it was last year.
Yeah.
Like you said, it can't get much worse.
Even if it's not worlds better, it is going to be better. Like, the defense is going to win us at least one extra game.
If you've watched most of these guys, I've tried to look up and look at some tape of them. And Fred Perry, if you've seen any Fred Perry highlights, again, I know it's G5. People are like, oh, I just see a bunch of non-needle movers because they're from the G5 and FCS. Like, shut up. There's players in the NFL that were from FCS and JUCO schools. Just because they're playing at a lower level doesn't mean that they're a bad player. And so what I was going to say is if you've watched Fred Perry, he hits hard. Like, that is what we talked about last year, is that we totally lost the West Virginia culture of a hard-hitting defense. Just going out there, lacing up the boots, putting the pads on, and going to lay the pain. Fred Perry's going to bring it.
Yep.
Last three, Chase Wilson from Colorado State. I think he's going to be He's going to fit back there with Ben Cutter in the linebacker crew and make a difference as a linebacker. We are still waiting. I can't even remember his name.
Who?
Look up the American Conference Defensive Player of the Year. I can't think of his name. He's from UTSA, linebacker. We're still waiting on his commitment. Unless he's committed while we're recording. He may have. And if he has, you'll hear about us tweeting. You'll hear about it from us tweeting.
Well, if he already committed, you'll hear about it right now.
Yeah,
Because
technically.
Matt's searching it up.
Either way. What we got?
UTSA, Jamori Robinson.
Yes. Look him up. See if he's committed yet. Our phones are recording, so we can't really look him up.
We will get a camera.
Either way, Chase Wilson is, I think he's going to make a difference in the linebacker room, even if it's not, a huge difference. He's just going to be a body in the linebacker room, some depth.
It's either us or the Hokies as well.
I knew it was between us and Virginia Tech.
Don't think he's decided yet.
Not decided yet. Oh, well. It's coming.
Come to the holder of the Black Diamond. That's all I'm saying.
The biggest transfer portal ad, I think, and the Huddy-Tuddy replacement, Cam Vaughn from Jacksonville State. He was a freshman, so he will be a sophomore, 3 years left. An absolute stud of a wide receiver. Takes the top off the defense, catches, his college football 25 spectacular catch rating would be up there because he can catch the ball.
We just search it up for next week.
Look
there.
at the stats. 50 catches, 49. I rounded. Go up.
My fault.
49, 800 yards, 5 tutties. 800 yards on 50 catches, basically.
I mean, those are Clement-like stats.
Well, it's better because I think Clement only had 740 some yards on more catches.
Yeah, and the worst drop pass I've ever seen against Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was bad. But we don't talk about the past. We talk about the future, and the future is Cam Vaughn. Nico 8-ball throwing it to Cam Vaughn.
Absolutely.
On Pitt.
Nico 8-ball, bro.
On Pittsburgh in Morgantown.
We're going to have the Jets flying over again. We're going to get 3-0.
Yeah. Heck yeah. And the one that puzzled me a little bit, and we can talk about, is Jalen Henderson from Texas A&M. This is a guy that if you haven't watched his tape, I would highly encourage you to. He's only started 3 games for Texas A&M, but in those 3 games, he looked like an absolute unit. And when I say he's fast, I say he's fast. He is like Garrett speed, if not a little bit faster than Garrett.
And he's bigger, isn't he?
Yeah, he's bigger too. I think
6'3".
Yeah, he's
Okay.
6'3", 220.
Massive. Yeah, Garrett was
big
5'10".
dude. So most of media, other West Virginia podcasters that I've seen, they think Nico still has a job and that Nico should earn the job. Jalen Henderson's good, and he's dealt with some injury issues, but I think that because Rich brought him in from a school like Texas A&M, I think he has told Jalen Henderson that the opportunity will be there in spring and fall practice to earn the quarterback 1 spot. I think it's going to be interesting. What do you guys think it's up for grabs, or do you think it's Nico's?
Well, I think it should be.
It should be up for grabs. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to have a quarterback competition in training camp.
Yeah, I mean, we want the best quarterback to be out on the field. And, I mean, I would assume that, having to fight for it would make you work hard and improve your skills.
Right. But we'll say right now, they're both excellent.
See, that was a big problem with Neal, is that he had too much, loyal to his guys that he chose at the beginning of the season. He wouldn't give it up. Whereas Rich Rod, he has no connection to Nico. So if Jalen Henderson goes out there and grabs the opportunity and runs away with it, I think we could see Jalen Henderson as QB1.
And I think in that respect, Rich Rod is more like a Huggins character, where he's not afraid to pull the trigger on some changes out on the field if we need it. Like when Huggins would do that, like if you took one bad shot, he'd yank you immediately, sit you down on the bench, make you think about what you did.
Put you in the corner, timeout. I'm not mad, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, that's not how things are going to work on football field, but he's not going to be afraid to make a change if we need it. If he sees something wrong, he's more than likely going to make a change, where Neal was scared to do that.
I don't want to say who I think it'll be because I love Nico, and I wanted him to start last year. I think we all did. Not at the beginning of the season, but about halfway through when we realized we were not very good.
He's gone 4-0 as a starter.
Correct. I think.
I think so.
The reason I'm saying I think is because I think it's 3-0, and then the fourth one is the Pitt game where he wasn't technically the starter, but he played essentially the majority of the game because
I'm
Garrett was
counting
injured.
that. I'm counting that. Yeah.
Either way, he wins. When Nico wins, Henderson can play. It's going to be interesting to watch, and we'll keep you updated on it because we're going to be watching.
We're going to be talking about all this stuff every week, especially
Every day.
Yeah, I mean every day with you on Twitter,
I go crazy, man.
running the Twitter, running the X
Oh,
account.
man.
Relatively successful social media campaign we got going on. Continue to follow us. If this is your first time watching, you can find all of our handles in our YouTube bio. So
Heck yeah.
go and follow us on everything.
That's about all I have for staff and transfer portal. I know it was a lot. Like we said, we've been gone for like 4 weeks, so there's a lot to cover. But I think Rich is putting this program in a position to succeed moving forward. I think we're in a position to have a decent to good 2025 year.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond that, what do you guys think?
I was extremely happy to see Rich Rod take his Instagram picture outside of Wings Olay.
That was
when he
fire.
first got to town.
That was
That's
fire.
something.
Although I don't like Wings Olay.
That was
It's
like the
still
first
fire.
Saturday he was in town. He
Yeah,
went to
dude.
Wings LA.
I think that was the day after the press conference. He turned up at Wings Olay for lunch.
Yeah.
That was funny. Which go follow him on Instagram, by the way. He just made an Instagram whenever he got here. And he only has like 600 followers, which I find kind of crazy. But
Go follow Rich Rod, man.
that'll go up for sure. Do we want to move on to some basketball talk?
Do we want to do basketball before the, totality of college football, or do we want to do basketball last?
Let's do basketball now so we can get through the WVU stuff.
All right.
And then, all right, let's transition to some women's basketball. So yesterday at the Coliseum, we're recording on Thursday. On Wednesday yesterday, we played Colorado in the Coliseum. Little revenge game.
Little bit.
Just a little bit. When we lost to them close to Christmas time in Boulder. I forget exactly what day that game was on, but domination by the Mountaineers, especially in the second and third quarters, and we controlled the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It was domination, honestly, from the second quarter on. So we controlled the tempo from there on out. I know you were watching the men more than the women, but Matt, me and you were there together. What was your biggest takeaway from this game?
Like you said, domination. We were hitting shots. We shot almost 46% field goals. 3-point was almost 35%. Free throws was almost 85%. In terms of individual scoring, Kylie Blackston and Kaya Watson both had 10 points. Jordan Harrison had 10. And Sydney Shaw and J.J. Quinnery both had 19, which was nice. And also coming off the bench, we saw Sydney Woodley came in. Legacy game. She had 3 steals. She had 1 assist, 4 rebounds. Like, she was out there making big plays. Definitely showed when she was on the field the effort that she's been putting in this season.
Yeah, definite solid bench production, which I think is important in this stretch of games going into March Madness period and conference championships. You need a lot of production from your bench because the starters are going to get tired and you're going to want to rest them eventually. So it's good to have girls like Sydney Woodley and Jordan Thomas coming off the bench. Blackson has stepped it up a lot. Very good 3-point shooting percentage in recent games, and she was very productive again this game. A lot of the time, Colorado, especially when we were struggling early on, they were doubling off of screens. Whenever JJ or Jordan would try to roll off of the screen, they'd double them, and we'd have nowhere to pass the ball. So that actually allowed the forwards and the centers to be at the top of the key and sort of facilitate to get everyone else open. And that was a key to our second half domination and also the turnover margin, right? Colorado had 30 turnovers
30 to 15, right?
Mm-hmm.
So double. Fantastic. I still wish we wouldn't turn the ball over 15 times,
But still, that's been like I don't know. Like I would say a key to the game in almost every game that West Virginia's played this year. When they win, they essentially always, if not always, win the turnover battle.
Exactly.
And it's by a large margin, like you see here, 30 to 15. I know there was one earlier in the season that was an even bigger margin than that. Like you said, 15 turnovers isn't ideal.
right?
But when it's, coupled with forcing 30 from the other team, I'll take it.
Exactly. I think in our past 2 conference losses, one being to Colorado and the one against Oklahoma State last week on Saturday, I could be mistaken. We don't have to go looking for the stats, but I think in both of those games we won the turnover battle and still lost. And I think a lot of that was down to shooting percentage. And you can tell in the Colorado game especially, it wasn't so evident in the Oklahoma State game. At the Colorado loss in Boulder, we looked tired, especially in the fourth quarter. We went into the fourth quarter with an 11-point lead and gave it up. A lot of it was loss of aggression, which I think the girls have learned from, and they're going to continue to take with them into the tournament season. But that's sort of been our issue so far. And Oklahoma State, while it seemed like a bad loss just with the naked eye, Oklahoma State had the number 1 ranked offense in the Big 12 in women's basketball. So they were averaging 85 points a game going into that game. And I think they scored 60. How much was it?
In the Colorado game? Or no, the Oklahoma State game. Yeah, they scored 64.
64
and they
points.
were averaging somewhere around 80. So
and they were averaging 85 going into that game. So the defense did the job, and we won the turnover margin. It was our shooting percentage that killed us. So some nights you hit your shot, some nights you don't. But Mountaineers were hitting their shots last night, and it was an awesome game to watch. What do you think?
Like you said, didn't get to watch much of this one. I was busy doing homework and watching the men's game. But from what I've seen, I like what I saw, or I like what I see on the stat sheet at least. I can probably go back and watch some highlights, and I'm sure I'll like what I've seen. But from all the other games and leading up to where we are now, I mean, we're still ranked 20th in the nation. I know we've fallen a little bit, but I still think that this women's team can go far despite some early conference losses.
You're always going to lose games in the Big 12. It's one of those conferences in both men's and women's basketball where any game can go any way, regardless.
It's like that for football too, really.
Yeah, it is.
Big 12 is just the parity conference for any sport.
That's true. Looking ahead for the women, on Sunday, we play Iowa State and the probably best sophomore in the country, Audi Crooks. When they were here last year, we played Danelle Arigbabu most of the game, and she held Audi Crooks to a less than ideal stat line. So I look for a lot of bench production coming from Jordan Thomas and hopefully Danelle on Sunday. She hasn't been playing so much this year. She's been getting a lot of those garbage minutes, but I think, again, someone like Audi, you're going to need bigger bodies.
Me personally, I'd really like to see more of Danelle on the court. She is my favorite player in the women's basketball team. Honestly, want to see more of her on the court.
We need more Danelle.
We need more Danelle.
Need more Danelle.
You tell them, Jit.
She was really good last year, man, especially in the Big 12 tournament when we played Kansas State. That game wouldn't have been so close as it was without her.
I'd like to see more. It's disappointing that she's not on the court as much this season.
Sorry, we got a better team. I will say it is a better team than we had last year, but I'd like to see more Danelle. Matt, I know you're looking at some stats over there. What is your key to the Iowa State game on Sunday?
Well, I feel like, obviously we're a pretty solid team, but like we've talked about, our field goal percentage, it's inconsistent. Like this was pretty good. The last time we played them, it wasn't there. And something that I saw kind of evolved over the course of the game in the first half, especially the beginning of the second quarter, we were having a real hard time actually driving in to make close shots. A lot of the times you would make a contested shot from like a mid-ranged 2-point shot and just kind of hope it falls in. Towards the end of the game, we were able to draw the defense out in different ways and allow different position players to be able to drive in. And also, we had some pretty decent 3-point shooting last night, which is always good to see. And a lot of the times you look and if you miss a shot, people say, "Oh, we shouldn't have taken that shot." But if you're wide open and you can shoot, a decent percentage, I don't know why you wouldn't take them. And then you don't know you're having an off day unless you're taking those shots and missing them. And then you can decide, well, it's not happening today. Let's try something different. So it's just something you have to feel out every time you play. But we're definitely getting more comfortable with the players we have And obviously, we're figuring out the teams that we play. And, I mean, when we're on it, we just dismantle people. So it's really exciting to watch.
I agree. I think not just for Iowa State, but for the rest of the conference opponents this season, I think our key is just defense. It seems when we play good defense, we beat good teams by a good margin. So I think defense, especially against Iowa State that likes to play more inside than outside, is going to be a key factor. Moving on, we can talk about the men. Played in Houston on yesterday as well, actually.
Yeah.
Same day game. And you were watching most of that. I didn't get to turn it on until I got back from the women's game, but
Watched the game entirely through. It was pretty much the definition of a roller coaster game. And I want to say this is that the final score does not reflect what the game felt like. It felt like despite Houston always being able to stay out in front, West Virginia was always in the game. And I mean that because even like Houston would pull ahead. When the game started, it stayed relatively close for a good period of time. And then Juwan Roberts for Houston came out of nowhere. And he would open it up a little bit. West Virginia would fall behind. Start of the second half, they're down 13. Here comes West Virginia trying to storm back. Within 2 minutes, the gap has closed from 13 to 5. And again, all of a sudden, it's like, boom, Houston comes right back out with it. Every time West Virginia, started to get close to Houston and maybe make you think that there was a chance they were going to win this game, Houston would pull away. And a big part of that was L.J. Cryer was shooting lights out. I don't know how many points he had exactly. Yeah, he had 18 points. He went 5 for 10 from 3, but it felt like he was making every one of them. I know there was one, I'm pretty sure there was a series where he made 3 in a row, and essentially all 3 of them were uncontested. But if you look at the stats, I mean, it was a 16-point difference. The game finished 70-54 in Houston favor. With field goal percentage, they shot 50%. They're 49, but they're not going to do that every time. We shot 44. That's not terrible. They shot 42% from 3. That's ridiculous. They're not going to do that every game. We shot 40. That's not terrible.
yeah.
The free throw percentage, they shot 75 and we shot 63. Wasn't they shot 12 free throws to our 11. I mean, that wasn't a huge deciding factor. The deciding factor was the fact that on their 7 turnovers, we only scored 9 points off turnovers, whereas 12 turnovers for us turned into 25 points for them. It felt like every time we would turn the ball over, they came down, they would drive to the basket, find an open man outside of the three-point line, and they would hit their shots. So I say all that to say this. Despite the loss, I'm not mad at what I saw. Houston is a really good team, a completely capable Final Four, if not championship contender team. And the fact that we were able to at least stay in this game as long as we were, and you could just tell that the guys were tired. Javon Small was gassed by the end of the game. Even the back or the guys that are getting more time off the court and to get rest, like Hansberry and Eduardo Andre, they look tired, and it's understandable. You're only running a 7-man rotation. I'm not mad at the outcome of the game. I hope that we can figure something out about the depth issue because it is an issue.
That's exactly how I feel. I only got to watch about the last 10 minutes of the game, and that was at the point where we were down by 5. And I'm like, okay, we're sticking in this game. We kind of have a chance. And Houston just went on an insane run, I think, to go up by 12 within 2 minutes. And I was like, they're just tired. You could tell by watching them. It wasn't so much a schematics issue. It was an effort issue. And that's not a character criticization, if I can say credit.
Criticism?
Criticism?
What is that?
Okay.
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one.
I'm just talking, man. This is a podcast, baby. We're just talking.
We just talk. I am proud of the men's team despite the loss.
Me too.
And Iowa State on Saturday.
Yeah, we got Iowa State for men on Saturday, and then Iowa State for women on Sunday. So we got Iowa State back to back. Iowa State's number 2 in the country now for men, and I don't think Iowa State's ranked for women, but yeah, Iowa State's number 2 in men's basketball, and I think just like last year, they're going to be in the Final Four.
Think so?
I think so. They look good, and it's the same type of chemistry that they've had the past few years. Has really looked in sync. I don't know how we're going to perform on Sunday. I know it's going to be different, and it's going to look a lot different than what the Houston game looked like last night. I think it's going to be more competitive. I don't think we get blown out by 20 at home. I think we lose, but I think it'll be competitive for a majority of the game.
I think it's going to be competitive, and I think we bounce back. Despite the fact that we are extremely thin in terms of roster, I think we hand Iowa State their second L. And it's because it's Jerry West night. The Coliseum should be packed. I'm outside the stadium. Past football. Coliseum should be packed. Make it a rocking house, guys. Make Iowa State fear Jonathan Powell from Beyond the Arc. Make them fear Javon Small driving to the basket and just pulling up. Like, I think we can do enough to try to get this win. I'm going with the Mountaineers. I know we're not really doing a pick 'em, but
right. It's too much to do pick 'ems.
Yeah, I like West Virginia in this game. I think we get a bounce back win. And I tweeted out earlier this week it was important that we try to at least go 2-2 through the stretch of Arizona, Colorado, Houston, Iowa State. Right now we're 1-2, and understandably so. Arizona and Houston are really good teams, and going away to Colorado in the clouds and then coming to Houston to play is not an easy task. But I think we bounce back.
What do you think, Matt?
It's going to be a tough game.
Big 12's a tough
ranked,
conference.
Yeah, they're ranked number 2 for a reason. But, I mean, statistically speaking, the only thing that really shows up on the team stats is different is their points per game. And we haven't played the same people. So, how much can you even really compare there? But, I mean, home field advantage is a big thing in Morgantown. So, I don't know. I think it'll be exciting, and I think it'll be a good game.
They beat Kansas handedly yesterday by, 17 points?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we can get it done. It's going to be a tough game, but it's going to be an incredible atmosphere. Like I said, show up, be there for the team, be there for Jerry West.
If you can go to a game, this is definitely one to go to.
And the three of us are going to be here. And Max, what are you going to be at both games? Jit?
You mean the game Sunday?
Saturday.
Oh, Saturday. I can't Saturday. I have plans, but I will be on Sunday.
Okay.
I'll
be at one.
tune in online.
We got the Jitster tuning in online. We'll all three be there Saturday.
The Coal Country crew is pulling up.
Yeah, we're going to try to be there Sunday.
Meet and greet?
Autograph section.
Autograph, meet and greet.
That'd be crazy.
We can do it, man.
No.
An autograph from me guarantees a Mountaineers win.
I agree.
As long as he's not watching the game, because every time he turned,
We're bringing blindfold.
every time he turned on the game was when Houston started to pull away
Oh,
again.
man, it was so bad. I turned it on. We go down by 15. I'm like, man, I ain't watching this. And then I turned it off. Like, we're only down by 3. What?
This is what I want to say before we move on, because I think we're about done with the basketball segment.
Yeah.
Tucker DeVries and Jaden Stone, please, if you're redshirting, announce it. Okay? I don't care that you're redshirting. I understand it. You don't want to use up a year of eligibility with a year that you've missed several games due to injury. But at least tell the fan base why. I don't know what the NIL or if they're getting compensated
Right.
situation is. But like in terms of football, let's just use a football example. If a player is getting paid to play football, they should be treated like professional players. And if their injury status is just kept quiet and not announced to the fans, I don't think that that's right. I understand there can be personal stuff going on, and their privacy should remain private. But at the same time, come on, man, 7-man rotation, and we need to, I feel like the fans deserve to know if they're at least coming back. They don't need to know what exactly is wrong or what the injury is. Just tell us that they're redshirting.
Now I have a question. What would that change announcing that you're redshirting? What would that change for our roster?
Because
and
right
h- and how
now,
we
it
do
doesn't
that?
change anything. But right now, the majority of this fan base views this team as a potential March Madness team that can make a run. And if Tucker and Stone were in, I wholeheartedly agree. You've got two of the best players in the Big 12 in Tucker DeVries and not Jaden Stone, Javon Small. And then you've filled out your roster. You now have a 9-man rotation instead of just 7. And you have at least a little bit more height with Tucker coming back. That makes you a somewhat capable March Madness player. Without them, you can only do so much. If you get to late February and early March, you're going to struggle to win basketball games. I mean, sooner or later, it's going to catch up to you. I still think this is a good team with or without Tucker and Jaden Stone. But with them on the court, it's a whole different animal.
And also, if they actually do come out and say, yes, we're redshirting, it changes our roster construction for next year as well, which is important.
Which, I mean, I'm sure Darren already knows that.
Right.
Like, Darren already knows what's going to happen. It's just a matter of he isn't going to come out and announce what's going to happen.
Right.
So, I guess it just sucks for the fans, but
That's all. We'd like to see Tucker out there.
yeah, he was
And
tearing
Jaden
it.
Stone.
He was tearing
I'd see
it
both
up.
of them. Yep. They were both good. All right. We're through basketball. Let's run through this quick discussion about the college football playoffs. So we obviously left off with a full bracket. I think it was our last show.
Yep.
Arizona State put on a heck of a performance against Texas.
That was second round. You're skipping ahead. Even though
I know,
yeah,
Big 12. Big
that's
12
true.
priorities.
That's true.
Big 12 priorities. I'm now a Sun Devil fan after watching that game. I highly respect their effort, and I feel like they should have won that game, but it is what it is. Oregon got eliminated. I'm just going through the highlights here.
That's fine.
Yeah, Oregon got eliminated. Boise State lost to Penn State. Rather convincing. Georgia lost to Notre Dame.
I think that one was a little surprising,
Yeah.
even without Carson Beck, who is going to Miami for whatever reason.
NIL money, baby. He's getting $10 million.
Yeah, but
And I
you're at
think his
Georgia. You're
girlfriend-
probably making about the same at Georgia.
But
I think he's making more, and his girlfriend's getting
his
more.
girlfriend's
Well,
going to Miami.
his girlfriend is at Miami.
Yeah.
But
Well, there you go.
$10 million and
you think
a
it's
girl.
10 mil and follow the girl?
He's now, as of I last looked, he's now the highest paid college athlete in history.
That's ridiculous.
Well,
Why even go to the NFL?
Carson Beck, baby. Yeah, there's no reason. And also, the NCAA is adding a 5th year of eligibility
We need
for
to talk
athletes
about
around
this,
all
man.
sports.
I cannot wait to record the episode. Spoiler. I cannot wait to record the episode where we talk about fixing college football because this is ridiculous.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I don't want to.
I'm glad you're impassioned.
Anyway,
I don't want to
let's-
talk about it too much, but I am impassioned. Like this needs fixed. So many things need fixed.
Let's skip into the further highlights of the bracket. So, Ohio State running through people, ran through Tennessee, ran through Oregon, ran through Texas.
Texas was a little bit closer, but
They
if-
really just lost it at the
in
end.
the fourth quarter,
if
Yeah.
ran
Steve
through Texas.
Sarkisian wasn't
There's questionable play
a
calls.
bonehead and just completely missed the point, literally, just go forward.
Run out the middle. Right.
All you had to do was go forward, and you probably would have been in that game in the fourth quarter. But instead,
Yep.
it wasn't a game.
And Notre Dame beats Penn State to meet Ohio State in the championship.
There's a couple things I want to hit here. First and foremost, I have this one written down as you said Big 12 first, and this has to involve a Big 12 team for me. I have written down, did they get the teams right? It's been 4 weeks since they announced or we figured out the playoffs, so this is old news. But BYU should have been in this playoff. SMU should not have been. I don't care that SMU got to, and I know some people are going to be mad at that because they'll say that you can't drop a conference champ below somebody that didn't, or a team that played in a conference championship, even though they lost, below a team that did not play in their conference championship. BYU only didn't play in the conference championship because of a lost tiebreaker. And secondly, SMU only had one more win, and they lost to BYU, and their strength of schedule was like miles easier than BYU's was. BYU should have been in the playoff if we're going to talk about Big 12 first. Second point I want to hit on, or I mean, we can go one at a time and just discuss. Like, does anybody agree with that? Like, Should it have been BYU in over SMU?
I mean, I think there should have been a second Big 12 team, whether that be BYU or Iowa State.
Iowa State shouldn't have been in, but
I
BYU
don't think it
should
matters.
have.
I think, in the sense that we just need to pick a system and go with it. If you want to pick the best teams, every conference is going to say, well, we have these 4 best teams that should be in it. You know what I mean? And so it doesn't really matter. You just need to decide how many teams are going to go in, and then pick a way you're going to actually decide how those teams are chosen, and then you got to stick with it. Because if we're flip-flopping around every year, it's going to be, oh, well, this and that and this and that. And then you're going to have teams, like I think it was Alabama said, well, we're not going to schedule as many XYZ teams when we can play a bunch of, nobodies, because then it'll look better. And it's like, well, then do wins matter? Because if you're, beating a bunch of middle schoolers, it's a little bit different than going out and slunging it out with a college team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have to figure it out. There's obviously some way to balance and hone it in, and that'll take time. But I mean, with the reaction, it's been a visceral reaction to the playoffs. I don't even know if this will be I don't know if this will be around long enough in its current form to even work out those kinks. And
Well,
they're big kinks.
26, they're supposed to move to 14 teams. They're already talking about moving to 14.
Well,
So I agree with you in the fact that they need to figure out what it is. Is it the 12 best teams, or is it the 12 most deserving teams? And if you're going to include conference champions, then you cannot objectively say that it is. Well, I mean, either way, you can't objectively say that it's the 12 best teams because not every team plays each other. So you can't objectively say it's the 12 best teams. And I don't want to, I said all season that Boise State was my dark horse playoff contender because I genuinely thought they could perform in the playoff. And I also said that Boise State deserved a spot. But I don't think that the group of 5 deserves an auto bid to the playoff. And that is another point that I have written down, is that changes that need to be made. This is one. The group of 5 does not need a spot. This is a generational Boise State team with a generational player leading them who got snubbed by the Heisman committee or whoever votes on it. Shame on you. Ashton Jeanty was great. Is great. But Boise State, this generational Boise State team with a generational player got thumped by a good team. A great, one of the best teams in college football. If one of the best group of 5 teams that there has been in a long, long time cannot even compete with a team that didn't make it to the national championship, that got essentially a free pass to the semifinals, does the group of 5 even deserve an auto bid? Because what's going to happen when it's a year like, let's say Boise State lost to UNLV this year in the Mountain West Championship and Army happened to be the auto bid. Army got stomped by Notre Dame in the regular season. Does Army really deserve that spot? And I hate using that term deserved because you're going to have blowouts. There was blowouts in the 14, there's blowouts in the 12 team, as we can see. But you're never going to have a Cinderella run.
I agree with your point. You just pick a line. If the line is power 4 conferences get auto bids, that's fine. Maybe nobody gets auto bids. Draw the line wherever it is. If you say group of 5 doesn't get one, I think that's fine. I think Boise State would have been in anyway. But to your point that they got beat by Penn State, Ohio State beat Texas by the same margin, 3 points less. Ohio State blew out Oregon by 20 points.
Well, that's what I said. There's going to be
Boise got crushed. You can't equate the conference you're in with the capability of the team.
Well, so that's why I said that it's not about the fact that Boise State did get blown out, because, like I said, there's going to be blowouts. There was blowouts in the 14 playoff. There's blowouts in the 12-team playoff. The NFL sees blowouts in the playoff every year. We still watch because it's football and we're fans of football. My problem is that this Boise State team is probably the best group of 5 team since UCF in 2018, which was they were in a group of 5 conference, but they were at a different level. And they were just playing at a really high level that year. and then they would eventually join the Big 12 and become a Power 4 member. But this Boise State team is probably one of the best Group of 5 teams we have seen since the introduction of the college football playoff. If they can't even compete, like I said, what happens when you get a 8-4 Group of 5 conference champion here and Ohio State meets up with them in the 5 seed? Because that's the next point that I want to bring up is, did Oregon get screwed by the seeding?
I think they did.
Oregon totally got screwed. And I know, again, people are going to hate on that because it's like, well, Oregon didn't deserve the 1 seed anyway because they got crushed by Ohio State in the second round. Okay, they got beat by a really good team. That doesn't mean they didn't have the best regular season. They had by far the best regular season, and you can't argue that. And they were rewarded by having to play the best team in the college football playoff, while Penn State, the loser of a conference championship game, the loser of the championship game that had Oregon in it, got SMU in the first round at home and a Group of 5 team in a bowl game. And they are now in the semifinal. That is a problem. So my first fix to this, keep everything else the same. You all know that I hate the 12-team playoff. I think it ruins the regular season, whatever. But if you keep this, your first solution is to get rid of auto buys and seed based on ranking.
Weren't you supposed to save this for a later show?
No, fixing college football
Yes.
we'll talk about later. But I'm saying we're talking about playoff right now, and I have like fixes that needed like this year immediately.
Okay.
We'll talk about later. Obviously, fixing all of college football.
Okay. Can we move on to the championship game
What you
that
know?
we're
What I'm
getting
talking
ready to
about
watch
this?
on Monday?
Well, how long we been going on this one? 30 minutes.
We're 30 minutes in. I have
About
one more
45.
thing I wanted to say about this. The entire year, it's been the Big Ten and the SEC are the conferences, the football conferences. I don't think that's
Malarkey.
I've never said that's the case, and I think it obviously showed up here. Texas was a Big 12 school for however long. They were the longest lasting SEC conference team, and right now it's independent.
They were the last
Oh,
SEC
and
team.
then-
in.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're the
Okay.
last SEC team in the conference or in the playoffs. It's now a Big 10 school, and Notre Dame's independent.
Well, the semifinal was Big Ten independent, one SEC team that also got an easy path. Besides, I mean, I'm not discrediting Arizona State. They probably should have won that game if the targeting was called.
Notre
Again,
Dame
we'll-
making
we'll-
money though.
That was the closest game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Was Arizona State Texas?
Notre Dame, Penn State.
No, this went into overtime twice.
The margin of victory.
Okay, that's because they scored. That's because they scored in overtime.
It's overblown.
That's still the closer. That's still the closer game.
The closest game is the one that has the smallest margin of victory.
No, the closest game went into overtime twice.
So
That's a closer
What do you
game
mean,
because
so?
that means you were tied multiple times.
I'm aware, but I'm saying by
So that's a
definition,
closer
the
game.
closest game is the one with the smallest margin of victory.
That's incorrect.
Notre Dame, Penn
Anyway, we're getting off topic.
State. Okay, whatever.
The championship game, again, Ohio State, Notre Dame.
I don't like either one of these freaking teams.
Like you said, the SEC Big Ten. Sorry, I know we're going to playoff, but I like talking about the playoff. Like you said, SEC Big Ten in the 14-team playoff. They're talking about SEC Big Ten get 3 automatic bids, and then the Big 12 ACC only get 2 automatic bids, and then obviously at large in a Group of 5 spot. That's some malarkey.
All right.
Why? I don't understand. Why can't we just take the best teams who had the best regular season and put them in the playoff? Why does it have to be auto bids?
Let's talk about it later
Okay.
in a later episode.
In a later episode.
I want to talk about this Ohio State team
Yeah.
and this Notre Dame team. I have not really followed these teams super closely.
We hate them both.
The Buckeyes.
I don't hate Notre Dame as much as y'all do.
I don't hate
even though
anyone.
I should.
Okay,
No,
Well, you don't
I
hate Pitt?
enjoy.
Ohio State.
I
You don't hate
enjoy.
Pitt?
I enjoy.
You hate Pitt with
football. I want to watch good games. I don't want to see people go out and get hurt. I want to see good, clean games. I want to see generational talent come out.
1988.
That's why you hate Notre Dame.
Yeah, Ian hates Notre Dame because of something that happened so long ago. His dad wasn't even thinking about having kids at the time.
Matt, we need to edit that out. That is
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Like,
He's not wrong.
I'm not wrong. And that's fine. You could totally go back and be upset about that. I think that's horrible. I think it's horrible. I think our program was treated unfairly. Here we are. This is a different team, different school. We're not the same team we were back then either, obviously. Ohio State, I've never really been a fan of Ohio State. There's lots of bad things you see about them and their fan base and their players and
They
whatever.
got mad about Michigan planting a flag. They should have done something about it.
And we talked about that on an earlier episode about the legislation that was introduced. Not a big fan. In my
he
heart,
just likes the team.
in my heart, that
knows
just
it.
wants to enjoy football. I want everyone to get along and play a hard fought game. I would prefer to see Notre Dame take the victory here.
See, you're saying, I agree. I love football. So the Penn State Notre Dame game, I loved watching that. It was a great game down to the very end, despite a slow starting first half.
Mm-hmm.
But I hate Penn State. I probably hate Penn State more than Virginia Tech, Maryland, any of the old Big East rivals. I know Maryland wasn't, but Maryland is a West Virginia rival. I think Penn State is my second most hated team behind Pitt. But I enjoyed watching the game. So, like you were saying, I just like watching good football. Ohio State, Notre Dame, I think it's going to be a good game, despite how well Ohio State has been playing. Who do I want to win? I'm going to say Notre Dame, because I just don't like Ohio State fans. And I also don't like the fact that some people think that Ohio State should have earned their way into the playoff after losing to Oregon and Michigan, and they were clearly a better team than Oregon because they stomped them in the playoff. Shut up. Go back to 14 playoff. Notre Dame's going to win this game because Ohio State is too cocky. They've been playing way too good for too many games in a row. They're going to trip up. I like Marcus Freeman. I like what he's done to the culture of this program at Notre Dame post Brian Kelly leaving. He's a fighter. He's a winner. He's going to win this game.
Now, I would say to that point, if you took off the Notre Dame badge and you just said, here's a football program, here's the culture they've built, here's what they're doing, I don't think anyone would say, man, I want these guys to lose.
That's why I'm saying.
I think you get that Notre Dame context, and then people get upset.
So what about Ohio State if you take the Ohio State badge off?
They're on fire in this playoff. And honestly,
well, no, I'm saying, do you think that fans look at
in terms
Ohio
of wanting
State
to win, I would say people would gravitate more towards the
all you had to do
hard-fought winning that the Notre Dame team has gone through.
All you had to do, Steve Sarkisian, was run the ball up the middle.
And then it would have been tied. That wouldn't have won the game necessarily.
Okay, but the same can be said about the Arizona State Texas game. You could have called the targeting. There was no guarantee he makes the field goal.
Ohio State, in terms of Ohio State, if they play the way they've been playing, they're going to win this game. The quarterback play, phenomenal. They have by far the best wide receiver team in the country, and they've really, really pulled away from the competition throughout the playoff series.
See, I don't know. I think you got Will Howard stats in the last game against Texas.
I can pull them up.
Excuse me. I don't think Will Howard played nearly as good in the game against Texas that he did against Oregon or Tennessee. But
I don't think Notre Dame's going to be able to throw against his defense.
I don't think so either.
see, I don't think that Will Howard's going to be able to throw as easy as a bunch of people think he's going to just because Jeremiah Smith is there.
I don't think so either. I think it's going to be a tough game.
I realize that Emeka Egbuka is also there. Jeremiah Smith is there. Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson are both backs that can receive the ball too. But, this is a good Notre Dame defense. I think it's going to be closer than what people think. I just squealed there. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. I like Notre Dame here. I like Riley Leonard. Like I said, I like Marcus Freeman. Give me the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame.
I don't know. Like I was saying, I don't like either one of these teams. I'm going to pick the Buckeyes. They're hot. They have the best receiving core in the country. It's going to be a harder game on Will Howard, but I feel like he's proved that he can get over the mistake that he made against Oregon. That's probably his lowest moment.
He got over that when he played Oregon in the postseason.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, he proved that right off the bat in that game. Notre Dame, I like Marcus Freeman. But there are a lot of inconsistencies with both teams. I see more on Notre Dame. That's what I'm going to say. I'm picking the Buckeyes. But we'll see. I hope it's a good game, to be honest, because that's the only way I'm going to be entertained watching these guys play each other.
That's true. So, Ohio State, I've got Notre Dame. I'm taking the underdog. Matt, what says you?
Who I think will win is Ohio State.
Pretty.
Jid, who do you have? I know you're itching for a pick over there.
I know I want the JIT picks. I always love them.
This is our only one, so make it a good one.
Ohio State. The Buckeye Battle Cry. Really, really fun fight song. Not as great as Hail West. Just gonna say that now. But really, really fun fight song. I just wanted to put that out there because I've always thought it was really cool since I was in high school. But honestly, the Buckeyes, my friend Charlie would be proud. He is from Ohio and loves the Buckeyes. I haven't seen him in a long time. He moved away. But Ohio State.
Okay.
So I'm the lone star here.
That means Notre Dame's going to win.
Picking Notre Dame. Well, I haven't gotten upset picking a long time.
What
I've
about
been
the
picking them
algorithm?
wrong. The algorithm does say Notre Dame's going to win, but Ohio State is a clear favorite. Before we go, I think we always at the end of this episode, at the end of our episodes, we kind of always throw something random in. These uniforms are so overrated. Not just Ohio State's, but the Final Four. I saw that this was going to be a post on Twitter that it was this is going to be the most aesthetically pleasing Final Four uniform matchup in that there's ever been. Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Penn State. First of all, Penn State, you wear practice jerseys. You cannot convince me otherwise. White pants, blue or white jersey with absolutely nothing but numbers on it.
Did you hear
and
the
a white
story?
helmet.
Did you hear the story about how that came to be? Anyway.
I don't think so.
They were originally pink and black. Those were their original school colors. And when they started playing football, all of their laundry would come back blue and white.
Interesting.
And mostly blue, obviously, whenever it would get worn in by the turf. And eventually the staff got so tired of it, they just made the jerseys blue. But every once in a while, you especially see it with their basketball teams. They'll wear black and pink, especially
Interesting.
Especially the girls, the Penn State girls team.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
But I stand by it. Penn State, do better. Do better.
Yeah, y'all have the worst jerseys in college football, I swear.
At least, and honestly, Texas is the same. I like Texas's better because they have an iconic helmet with a good logo.
And it at least says Texas.
Yeah, it at least
on the
says
jersey.
Texas, even if they're wearing the same thing all the time. They either have iced out or burnt orange, white. I don't know if they have burnt orange pants or not.
They do.
I don't remember.
I think
But
they do.
Texas is at least look a little better than Penn State. And then when it comes to Notre Dame and Ohio State, I still don't like them, but at least they have some spice thrown in there. Ohio State has their black alternate uniforms. Sometimes the Ohio States look decent. And then Notre Dame has some really underrated uniforms, I'll be honest. But their home and away typical are kind of mid.
For me,
I don't know. I think they're so overrated. Ohio State is probably the main one because I hate the helmet stickers that everybody hypes up for no reason.
my favorite uniform in college football, Oregon, with the chrome helmets.
See, I think Oregon's is overrated too. There's got to be a balance between tradition
like
and
'em.
too much.
I do think they're overrated, but I do like them.
So this is my favorite, and I'll
We should name our favorite uniforms before we log off.
I have
uniform or uniform set.
I have no clue about
This is my
uniforms.
favorite Oregon uniform, and they haven't wore it for a couple of years. I'll throw
That's
the
a
the
good one.
picture up. But
That's kinda funny,
when they match the is
Match
it
the
Puddles?
mascot?
Puddles the
Puddles.
mascot. When they match Puddles with the white helmet, orange face mask, green jersey, white pants, orange socks and cleats. It's just
The orange socks
Heat.
and cleats are insane.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I'll agree that I like Oregon's uniforms, but sometimes I think they go way too far.
The worst uniform for me is Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State suck.
Yeah.
I had some dude arguing
What
with
is
me on
your
Twitter.
favorite in college football?
Set or uniform?
Well, is set including the helmet, the jersey, the pants?
Well, no, I mean like so
Of a team?
away, home, alternates, or
favorite
just
uniform.
favorite uniform.
Just favorite uniform, no set.
Oh, I'd have to sit there and look. I'm gonna be biased, but I do like ours. Like I love our current uniforms. If I had to pick a favorite uniform, it would be Florida State's whiteout, like the ice white jersey, and I can flash those up on the screen as well. But
There's one more you should flash up on the screen once we get show this
I
one.
think these are so
I like
clean.
those, yeah.
Florida State set outside of their like sky blue, whatever that is really good.
Also, I want to talk about Illinois, but UCF's space uniform.
So I don't like their space uniform.
You know
I think
what?
they could be better. They could be better.
They have a cool factor. But I was gonna say Illinois' throwback uniform when they had the pigskin helmet design.
Oh yeah, this year, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Well,
Those are fire. We'll
I'm
flash those
I'm not
up
sure
too.
if it was this year. But
Well, they had one this year that was.
it was like absolute bareback football that they played in the 1800s type
These ones?
uniform. Yeah, dude.
The helmet is fire.
The helmet,
I think
yeah.
if they would have gone strictly blue on top without this
Right.
like this brown in the middle there, I think I would have liked it better. But those are definitely some good ones too.
But if I see Clement in that, I'm gonna throw up.
oh gosh,
Anyway,
I ain't watching an Illinois game next year.
No.
I might cry.
heck no, dude.
What do you have any particular preference?
No, I used to go to Mountaineer games when I was a kid with my grandparents, and I always liked the like all blue uniforms when I was a kid. So that would have been, late 2000s, early 2010s. I don't know. I always liked the older, like the Big East before we
Right.
moved into the Big 12, and then the early Big 12 uniforms I always liked. But not big on yellow's not really my color, so
Fair enough.
those are my least favorite out of the group. And then the Coal Rush uniforms this year were awesome. Like with the
Amazing, yeah.
speckled and the
Like I genuinely think West
That was
Virginia's
nice.
uniform set, again bias, but West Virginia's uniform set is top 5. And I know I was hating a second ago on the teams that were in the Final Four. Notre Dame does have some really good uniforms, especially with the gold helmet. But if you throw in all of their uniforms, their home, away, alternates, the Kelly green, and then I think they had like a gray bluish one that they've wore. They have a good set. It looks like you've got something. You've got something.
I do have
off the
something to
dome.
say. Actually.
What do you got?
I think it was in like 2016. I used to like yearly, like once or twice a year, I'd go to like Miami games and with my dad because our team was Miami. Because like I couldn't go to a Utah game,
Yeah.
yeah. But my dad and I used to go to games, and I used to go with my ex-best friend. Whole story behind that, but him and his dad and me and my dad would all show up, and we'd just hang out and we'd go to the game. I'll send a picture to you. I'm gonna find it. I'll find it before you're done editing this, but it's like a black Miami uniform. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was so cool. Yeah, I thought it was probably some of the best. Like I love West Virginia's ones, but that's nostalgic for me because I used to go to all the games and I'd like watch the games, halftime, everything, and honestly, it's like nostalgic. Their stadium is something like I can remember for years.
We should do a uniform ranking episode. We can rank the
Summer
uniforms.
content, baby.
Summer content.
Summer content.
Off the dome. We've been going at a while.
Well, yeah, I think we're all good to go. We don't have anything else to talk
We're
about.
just
do we?
yapping about uniforms.
All right. Well, yeah.
Fun talks.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Except Penn State's.
Shade. But agreeable shade.
Exactly. Look at this.
Agreeable
It's a little
shade.
practice jersey.
Oh my gosh, pull this up on the screen. Let's see.
Again, for the 15th time, I'll Flash it up on the screen. What even is this? That's not even their modern ones. Blue. They don't even have the number up there anymore.
They probably save on laundry,
At least
though.
put the name. Like I get the whole like thing. It's a team, not a individual game. So you don't want to put the players' names in the back of the jerseys, but like at least put the names on the back of the jerseys. Like when Notre Dame did that for the playoffs, how they normally don't, and they've added them for the playoff, it made them 10 times better. Put the names on your jerseys.
I agree.
Stop holding the high ground, Penn State. You're not that good. You can't even beat a real team.
All right. Well, on that Penn State shade, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this episode up. So,
I love you, America.
for you guys watching, especially you first-time viewers, go like, comment, subscribe on this video and our YouTube channel. Go follow us on all of our socials: Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We should make a TikTok here soon. If it doesn't get
unless they
banned.
ban it. Like
If it's not
Unless
banned.
Not TikTok, but we will make Instagram shorts.
Yeah, those are coming. So tune in for those. And yeah, boys, it's good to be back. Good to be back filming some cold country. All right, so from me, from Tyler, from Matt, and Max, we will see you on the next episode.
Good night, gamers.
Goodbye, America.